Hello, my name is Gokey Gamer, coach of the Milwaukee Medichams, and this is log number 3 of testing the power of these Paradox Pokemon for Professor Turo. I have been recruited by the professor to help gather intel on these iron Pokemon by battling with them in this old new association, and in exchange I have been promised a championship title as these Pokemon are just that powerful. Unfortunately, we did have to delay our match because we were found by rival researchers and there were attempts to sabotage. But thankfully the professor managed to escape with the majority of our research. Hopefully our attempted assailants don't get too much valuable research they can use against us in the future. Our opponent for this week was originally going to be Coach Lucario Man, but due to external situations they had to leave the league, so the commissioner himself, Aprater, aka coach of the Machesney Park Slowpokes, is taking their place. During this fight, I'm going to have to be even more careful than usual because we don't want the commissioner to ruin our research or my plans to become champion. Now, the Pokemon on the team that Aprater took over consists of Ursaluna, Bloodmoon, Toxapex, Hydreigon, Male Basculegion, Tinkaton, Gliscor, Thundurus Therian, Excadrill, Chestnut, and Malamar. The Terra captains consist of Basculegion with the Terra Water, Normal, and Ghost types, and Malamar with the Terra Fighting, Steel, and Dark types. Now, despite the fact that our battle was heavily delayed, Aprater said he would keep this team for our match before completing his trades, as his team now is very different from his current team. But I'm definitely not complaining, as there are a decent amount of holes in this team I can take advantage of. In terms of what I'm expecting my opponent to bring, I'm thinking it's going to be Thundurus, Excadrill, Terra Basculegion, Toxapex, Ursaluna, and Tinkaton. While there are some extremely threatening Pokemon, I think we can definitely pick up a win this week, so allow me to log in the Pokemon that I'm bringing and why I'm bringing them this week. The first Pokemon I'm bringing is a Pokemon that has an extremely overpowered matchup this week, being King the Weavile. I don't even have to run max speed Adamant to outspeed everything on my opponent's team, meaning we can put some investment in special defense to help tank a hit versus Vacuum Wave versus Luna. Knock Off, Triple Axle, Swords Dance, and Dig is the moveset as it hits nearly everything super effectively, and he's holding the wide lens to all but guarantee that we land our Triple Axles and just nuke whatever wants to switch in. I'm very excited to see this Pokemon in particular pop off this week, especially since it'll help us keep under cover from revealing our more overpowered Pokemon. Speaking of those overpowered Pokemon, the next Pokemon that we're bringing is a similar one that looks extremely good in this matchup due to their high speed, being first class, the Iron Valiant. Holding the Babiri Berry this week to help tank any incoming steel type attacks, this week we've got the moves Drain Punch, Ice Punch, Swords Dance, and Psycho Cut. We've also got max attack and enough speed to outspeed my opponent's entire team, with the rest of my investment in defense to help tank a possible Aqua Jet from Basculegion. Similar to King, first class can hit nearly everything super effectively on my opponent's team, so while first class might end up throwing a bit more suspicion on us, at the very least the commissioner will understand why I brought it. Hopefully, anyways. After first class is going to be the only Terra Captain we're bringing this week, Carboniferous the YANMEGA. Finally getting the chance to run this set, holding the choice specs with a tinted lens this week, we've got the moves Bug Buzz, Terra Blast, Giga Drain, and U-Turn with the Terra Flying type, max special attack, and max speed to speed tie a Jolly Gliscor and barely outspeed a Jolly Tinkaton. Long story short, this set looks extremely good into my opponent's team. Because of tinted lens, nothing on the commissioner's team is going to want to tank a choice specs Terra Flying Terra Blast from this massive threat. Since Iron Thorns dominated the first 2 weeks, it's now Carboniferous's turn to shine. Next up is the only other Iron Mon we're bringing this week, being Iron Moth. Now you might be wondering why I'm bringing this Pokemon on a team that has so many water and ground types. Well, believe it or not, but the professor himself actually asked me to bring in this Pokemon this week specifically to test out a certain item he's recently discovered that has an intriguing reaction to these Iron Mons, being the Booster Energy. According to the professor's recent study, this Booster Energy with this investment in Iron Moth will permanently boost Iron Moth's speed to a +1, but only for the first time to hit the field. If they switch out, then Iron Moth will lose that boost. Hopefully we won't need to switch out though, as with the moves Fiery Dance, Fire Blast, Energy Ball, and Psychic, hopefully we'll be able to simply sweep the endgame with this major threat. Not exactly my idea of subtle, but who am I to get in the way of the professor's work? The fifth Pokemon we're bringing this week is going to be the debut of Tumbler the Bramblecast. Holding the Heavy Duty Boot specifically to get rid of any hazards Toxapex wants to spread, we've got the ability Wind Rider and the moves Poltergeist, Power Whip, Strength Sap, and Rapid Spin. With enough speed to outspeed a Jolly Excadrill and a max special defense to help tank hits against threats like Thundurus Therian. What this set is meant to do is weaken things down and prevent our other Pokemon from taking too much damage from hazards. Perhaps this bundle of Brambles will even be able to pick up a KO this week. And finally, the last Pokemon that we'll be bringing is going to be the return of Derp the Quagsire, with a very interesting moveset. Holding the Rocky Helmet this week, we've got the moves Avalanche, Encore, Earthquake, and Recover, with max HP and max defense with a bit of speed to outspeed Toxapex. I was originally running Substitute instead of Earthquake, but I decided that a solid stat move was necessary in this game. We've also got the ability Water Absorb to help 1v1 Adaptability Terra Basculegion and even Toxapex if needed. It is worth noting that if Basculegion is running Mold Breaker, then it will hit through my Water Absorb, but then we get valuable information that Basculegion isn't running Adaptability, which is arguably a lot scarier. Hopefully Derp does more this week than he did last week, because his bulk will definitely be coming in handy. And that is the complete team we're bringing for this match. I am a bit nervous because I don't want the commissioner to discover what the professor and I have been up to, but I think this team will keep us under the radar enough to not get caught. Regardless, I will go ahead and end the team preview here. Now let's go ahead and head into the battle. Heading into battle, I see my opponent surprisingly didn't bring Toxapex or Tinkaton, both of which being the best walls for Weavile, so as a result, I opt to lead strong with King the Weavile. In turn, my opponent immediately leads with Basculegion, which is not exactly the best for us. I immediately hard swap to Derp the Quagsire, fearing the Terra Water Aqua Jet, and while my opponent does indeed Terra, they actually Terra into a normal type and go for an Agility, something that is quite scary. As a result, I opt to go for the Encore to hopefully lock my opponent into an Agility if they get greedy, but my opponent ends up interestingly going for a Shadow Ball, doing a decent chunk of damage and revealing that this mon is surprisingly a special set this week. To be honest, that makes sense since my special wall is a Pokemon that is weak to water, which, speaking of, now that Basculegion is locked into clicking Shadow Ball, I actually opt to switch it to Iron Moth, revealing our booster energy and taking the next Shadow Ball decently well. The booster energy reveal admittedly does make me quite nervous as it heavily risks our cover being blown, but again, the professor told me he really needed to study this item for his research, so I won't question it. As a result, since Basculegion is still Encore locked into Shadow Ball, I can freely go for a Fiery Dance, doing a decent chunk of damage and even getting a special attack boost, which means that during the following turn, a second Fiery Dance is enough to pick up the KO against this terrifying dead fish. 1 down, 5 to go. The next Pokemon my opponent decides to send in is none other than Gliscor, which unfortunately, depending on the set, could live a Fiery Dance, even though we're at +1, so we have to rely on landing a Fire Blast. And thankfully, we do actually land the Fire Blast, picking up the KO against the Flying Scorpion, another major threat out of the way. Next up to face Iron Moth's Wrath is none other than Hydreigon, and this is where it looks like Hawaiian Pizza will have to go down. I go for a safe Fiery Dance to get guaranteed chip on the 3-headed dragon, and my opponent actually ends up revealing that they have the move Tailwind. Not exactly ideal right now, but something we can work around, especially since Aprater is forced to burn one of those turns with Tailwind still up to finally pick up the KO on Iron Moth with a Dark Pulse, also revealing that they have a Life Orb. Iron Moth has really proved how powerful it can be. I'm sure the professor will be extremely happy with this result. This ends up giving me a free switch to first class the Iron Valiant, as we had the Babiri Berry for this exact moment. While we do take a pretty significant chunk of damage from an incoming Life Orb boosted Flash Cannon, we are able to survive and fire off a Drain Punch, getting some of our HP back and KOing Hydreigon at the same time. We're halfway through winning this battle, and while it's looking quite promising, this game is far from over. Thundurus Therian ends up coming in next, and after weighing out my options, I decide to unfortunately let first class go down to a Discharge. In hindsight, I could have absolutely gone into Derp the Quagsire here, which would have been smarter, but I was fearing the Grass Knot Tech, which would have absolutely KO'd Derp and lost me momentum. Regardless, Iron Valiant ends up falling and my opponent's Tailwind finally peters out, meaning that King the Weavile can finally come back in and freely click Triple Axle, as nothing will want to take this incoming hit. Not even Blood Moon or Saluna will enjoy this, as they come in and nearly get one shot from the attack, revealing that they do have some bulk investment. But as a result, I can simply fire off a knockoff here to pick up the KO. Especially since, due to our special defensive investment, we can survive the incoming vacuum wave, getting rid of this titan of a Pokemon, leaving my opponent with just a Chestnut and a Thundurus Therian. Speaking of Chestnut, that's the next Pokemon that comes in, revealing that most likely Thundurus Therian isn't Scarfed, and as long as I keep Weavile alive, he can win the game by just clicking Triple Axle. The thing is, I'm worried about this Chestnut having his signature move, Spiky Shield, which would pick off Weavile and make this fight quite a bit harder. So after debating about what Pokemon I should switch into, I decide to go into Carboniferous to see Choice Specs Flying Tinted Lens pop off, as my opponent clicks a very light Drain Punch, doing just a tiny bit of damage due to our quad resistance. During the next turn, all I have to do is click Flying Terra Blast here, as it will easily KO Chestnut and possibly even KO Thundurus Therian. Granted, that will be a roll, but it's still a roll heavily in my favor. What follows is my opponent actually switching out into Thunderous Therian, basically guaranteeing that we win the game even if we don't get the KO due to the massive amount of damage we will be dealing. But perhaps we'll be able to get a 4-0 over a 3-0. And that, my friends, is what we call GG's. Overall, there was still definitely some luck involved, to be honest, when is there not, but I'm still extremely happy with the results of this game. While our Iron Mons did take the spotlight a bit during the beginning, particularly with the Booster Energy Iron Moth, hopefully the performance of King and Carboniferous will take center stage instead. I'm still unsure how I feel about the Professor forcing me to test out this item in the battle with the Commissioner of the League, but it seems to have gone unnoticed. For now. Regardless, that will be the end of this log. If you're still watching, thank you so much for your support. If you guys enjoyed this battle and want to see more, then leave a like, comment, and subscribe as it helps our research on these Iron Mods immensely. In all seriousness, I also want to say a massive thank you to Aprater for being so understanding of my situation with my recent move and lack of availability and internet, and even taking over my former opponent's team just to battle me with it. His channel and his side of the battle, if he uploads it, will be linked down below as well, so please be sure to check it out. Also, be sure to check out some of our other Draft League content for more battles from me. If you want to show support financially and earn some unique perks, then be sure to check out my Ko-Fi link down below as well. With that, this is the end of the log. See you all next week for our Week 4 game. Peace out, mates. Professor, are you sure testing out that booster energy in this game was the right call? No, I'm not doubting your methods, but surely there was a better time. I mean, we just got raided! Okay, I trust you, Professor. I just don't want these rare Pokemon to get seriously injured.